Howdy y'all, Stock Warden here, back with another Palantir Technologies video. And today we're going to go over the breakthrough that Palantir was able to achieve, how, why, and where this stock is going once it finally made this breakthrough. And it is touching a new breakthrough limit. So stay tuned and we're going to get to everything right here. So first off, we had Palantir pegged down to where they had a bottom resistance line right in the 150, 151 range, where it came all the way across and stopped right about here. So we had a solid line where we were kind of going off the top and off of the bottom quite a few different times. So, and then I'm going to go ahead and call this a midline for our new breakthrough set, where we're looking right at about 160 a share, where we had quite a few smaller areas of interest, where we had quite a few peaks and valleys come in from 160, where we kept hitting it, but we couldn't ever finally surpass it until last Tuesday. We got just enough above it, and we were able to completely stay ahead of the curve, like what we were talking about last Monday on some of the great things that had been coming in. So then now, the new line that we're looking at is right here at where we closed at 171.43. So with this line here, it's looking really good, where we had two bottoms, a top, and then now we have came back to another top to get back into this higher resistance line here of where we have ended. So through the rest of today and how the market plays out is going to determine if we're going to get back into this breakout of staying into the 170s, going up into the 180s, or is it going to stay in this 160 to 170 trend line? So, but since we had a pretty good jump, and with some of the news that has came in, I'm putting my money on it going straight up all over again. So, one of the good parts of the news that came in later towards the end of the week last week is Palantir is now making huge moves across the Ministry of Defense. So they're going to be bringing in a whole set of simulation suites and AI products going across the UK's armed forces. So not only is Palantir inside the U.S. Department of Defense, now they are inside UK's Ministry of Defense. So, and Palantir has also sold them also their Foundry software to boot. So, this partnership is marking a further step in Palantir's relationship with the UK. So, they already had a little bit to do with some of UK's defense whenever there was a lot of drone strikes and things of that nature happening in between Russia and Ukraine. Palantir did get a decent sized contract for them to go in and provide some of their support to the UK for their armed forces to kind of help on that forefront. So this is kind of brought in even more, where now them getting in with Hayden's partnering with, which actually Hayden's wargaming is what their biggest issue is, because they like taking in different battlefield training and operational decision ideas, more or less war simulations. That's why they call it wargaming. So they're taking all these different scenarios and interests and things of that nature of what could happen, different possibilities and aspects of the way different battles could play out. And Palantir, with their software, is going to just straight turbocharge this work within the UK's armed forces. So it's going to be a totally new game for the Ministry of Defense to be able to provide this unique digital wargaming and command and control platforms, because it's all going to be powered by AI. So, with it being AI, you're going to get a lot more of a variety of things and different types of scenarios that typically, every other human might not be able to come up with. So that's going to be something amazing on the UK front, and also for them, for Palantir as a company, to have yet another government type contract to be able to continue staying relevant and boosting their product, which is just still absolutely amazing, getting absolutely getting absolutely astronomical in their sense of being able to show how their product works and how their product is the product to have and to get. So, coming off of the UK's great stuff that they had with Palantir, the Pentagon has started the process of finding Golden Dome contractors, which Golden Dome is something that's been talked about for quite a few months now, ever since Donald Trump became in and sworn in as president. He is wanting to create what will essentially be called the Golden Dome, which is a missile defense that is going to shield all of America from coast to coast. That is what the goal is right now, because whenever everything was happening between Hamas and Israel and Iran and a couple of the other countries, they have had these systems that they call it the Iron Dome over there in Israel, where a missile comes straight in, and as soon as it gets into this specific radar's airspace, then it just takes the missile and says, no, you don't want to go here, go the other way. So then the missile just turns around and takes a full 180 and goes away from its intended target. So that in itself is something that would be absolutely amazing to have, but getting it to cover the entire United States is going to be a massive, massive feat, because other countries are smaller than most of the states that we have in America. So, with the Pentagon jumping in and saying that this enterprise layered defense shield that they're trying to create, that they want Palantir to be pushing into this, along with Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, RTX, and also Boeing is also looking at getting into a piece of this, which also on the backside, we're looking also at SpaceX being part of the bid. So now, depending on, because we already know Palantir and SpaceX already kind of have a little bit of a thing going, but with Donald Trump kind of pushing away with some of the stuff that happened with Elon Musk in the news, not really going to get too deep into all of that. SpaceX might or might not be a big contributor into the Golden Dome project. So then now to get into the biggest section of news that came out for Palantir Technologies was the Babcock and Palantir partnership, which is now going to revolutionize warship production for America. So they are transforming the build process and expanding everything with the Arrowhead family across all Arrowhead projects. So the partnership is going to enable their production and operations team to make better and more data-driven decisions through Babcock capabilities on Palantir's platform. So then, once again, it's going to make it to where Palantir is going to give them a completely better operating system, and it's going to result in what? Faster building programs, more effective support services, more efficient asset lifespans. So then it's just going to completely blow up the manufacturing workflow and supply data so then they can make sure that bottlenecks don't happen, can manage risks, reduce delays, and just completely overhaul and make an optimal path. I mean, just from paper until it sets sail. So, which Babcock has been partnered with Palantir since 2023, but they have finally pulled the trigger to where they could get Palantir's large program. So then now they can be able to do exactly what they were wanting to, because now they have Palantir's warp speed manufacturing operating system. So it's going to be absolutely amazing for Babcock, for America, for these warships to get built, because we are in a naval race right now. The USA knows it is in a naval race, because we can't build ships near as fast as we should, especially with the amount that China has been pumping out nonstop, day in and day out. Now, there's been a lot of speculation on that most of China's vessels that they're putting out don't actually have the tonnage versus America, which that would be a whole nother video to get into. So, but either way, Babcock's going to be putting in the work and being able to put everything in streamlined to get everything up and running forthcoming. So, with all that being said, just with all of this coming in at the end of the week last week, us being able to break through this piece of resistance over here at the 160, 161 line, where we've brought all the way up into our next resistance line for an upper. So, to me, I'm still sticking with Kramer. I still believe that we're going to have a 200 price target by the end of the year. I believe it'd be by the end of the year. Kramer and other targets are believing that 200 could be sooner. So, with everything happening, and with everything happening so fast, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest for it to jump. So, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I hope y'all were able to get a lot of information and be able to kind of get zeroed back in on this stock, on what's happening, because we did have about a 2-week lull on this stock after we had a solid week of a bearish blowout. So maybe be able to come back in, have a little bit more revitalization in this stock, have a little bit more confidence, less volatility, and we're going to continue on this upward trend. So I hope y'all enjoyed the video. If you did, like, comment, subscribe. If there's any other stock that you hold in your portfolio, or that you want me to do some more research on, or I can even do a deep dive on a couple of them, then drop that down in the comments below. I'd love to be able to bring out a new stock to the rest of the community as well. So, this is the Stock Warden riding off. See y'all come back now, you hear?